Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Okay, so this is the draw for the fourth round of the 31st edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. Uh, Back after a couple of weeks break, and in the third round, we went down from nine competitors to down to just four now. So for this round, we only have four left, so it should be a shorter video. Obviously, getting towards the business end of the competition now. Just to remind ourselves, those four are Damien Handel 420, Cushy Cake, Tosh, and Shriek. They're the four remaining lucky bastards still in with a chance of winning this. I will just go over, obviously, given the fact this could potentially be the last round. I mean, every round could potentially be the last round in theory, but I mean, given it's quite likely it could be, here are the different scenarios. We could have it where obviously if there's only one person left, if only one of you gets a winning fighter, then that person will win the whole thing. Obviously, two or more, then we'll go through to a fifth round. Uh, but if, of course, if all of you get losing fighters, then the wheel will be declared the winner. And we just don't want that to happen now, do we? It's happened enough times in the past, so if we can avoid that happening again, that'd be great. But anyway, for this fourth round, we have UFC Fight Night coming from Australia. Uh, it's Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes in the main event, and Carlos Ulberg vying for a title shot. Really, he's there or thereabouts. Ranked third or fourth, probably. It says third on the poster, so I'll go by that. Not that I pay much attention to the UFC rankings, but you have to have him in your top three or four. Coming off that, yeah, the unanimous decision win against Jan Blachowicz in his last fights, and yeah, he's looking very good as well. He got the KOs of Menefeld and Potiera before that as well, so he's on a bit of a hot streak at the moment. Um, Dominic Reyes, also, um, he's had a bit of career resurgence, really, hasn't he? Because he's gone from being knocked out several times in a row to he's now on a three-fight win streak of his own, all knockouts. Um, the only problem with this is those knockouts haven't been as against as good opposition as Carlos Ulberg has been beating. um, in my opinion. So I think Allberg's been fighting the better or higher caliber fighters recently. Um, so that gives us a better idea as to his skill level. And to be honest, I don't think Reyes would have that win streak if he were fighting the same guys as Allberg. Um, as for how this particular fight goes, I've got Carlos Allberg to win by second round knockout. He's got that knockout power to him. He can go the distance, as proved last time, and so he's got that staying power to him as well. He can take it multiple rounds if need be. But despite Reyes' resurgence, um, at the end of the day, it still remains that he has been knocked out in the past. He has proven to be a little bit chinny against other fighters. Has he turned it around? Because it's been about 3 or 4 years since his last KO loss, to be fair to him. But I don't know, he's still got that history there. So we'll see. But I've got Carlos Ulberg by a second round knockout for the main event. That's my prediction for that. But of course, that's not what you're here for. You're here to see who you're getting drawn with in the Lucky Bastard game. Ignore the gambling sponsors on the side there. I don't condone gambling at all. That's well, I mean, I don't mind it, but I don't promote it. Uh, but gamble myself for my sins. But that's not part of this. It's just the adverts that pop up. Not promoting David Lloyd either or anything like that. It's just I don't go to gyms either or any kind of fitness shit like that. Anyway, enough rambling about the eyesores. Let's get on with this. And first up is Damien Handel 420. Uh, Fitting as he's from Australia. Let's see if he the hometown player effectively. He gets the hometown fighter, and he gets Charlie Campbell. Charlie Campbell for Damien Handel for 20. And not a hometown fighter in this case, but in fact, he's actually against Tom Nolan. I will just say one thing actually: the UFC have done a pretty good job in terms of matchmaking for a lot of this, um, because obviously it's a showcase event in Australia, and they've got pretty much every fight is either an Australian or a New Zealand fighter, or Kiwi fighter, I think it's technically called. Um, Up against someone who isn't. And so I think we're going to see a bit in my commentary here, a bit of a recurring theme is going to be hometown favoritism if it does go the distance. But and that's why I'm mentioning this because I've got the hometown fighter, or not hometown maybe, but the home fighter, Tom Nolan, the Australian, to win by a decision against Charlie Campbell. Um, Tom Nolan, a little bit more established in the UFC, 3 wins, 1 loss. Um, he's never actually won or lost by submission, quite interestingly, when I was doing the research into this. Only ever knockouts or decision wins. And the same's actually true for Charlie Campbell as well. Never won or lost by submission. So you can expect this one to be a mostly striking affair. Um, or at least it won't end on the ground, as well, very, very unlikely to. Um, but it's a very close fight. It's not really a lot to split them. Similar records, similar times in the UFC. Charlie Campbell 2-0 in the UFC. Also a bit of Bellator experience, so not quite the same level as the UFC, but worth noting nonetheless. Um, I genuinely think this could come down to simply home crowd getting behind Tom Nolan. Maybe that will sway the judges a little bit. It will certainly motivate Nolan. Um, and I'm a fairly big believer in the psychological aspect of MMA fights. So yeah, I think that could be enough to sway this one. That's how close it is. But I've gone with Tom Nolan. But as for the game, Damien Handel, we're basically in what I consider to be a 50-50 fight. So yeah, good luck with that one. It's basically a coin flip fight for our first draw. Okay, so we move on to Cushy Cake now. Let's see who Cushy Cake is going to be drawn with. And he gets Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins for Cushy Cake. And hometown fighter, so to speak, or home fighter anyway, on Australian, up against Ramon Taveras. And again, another one, as I said, this is going to become a recurring thing because I pick quite a lot of these by decision, actually. Because quite a lot of these are also very close fights as well as making it us versus them, Australia versus the world kind of thing. They've also done a pretty good job of pairing fighters up evenly. There's not many. I have in the past gone off and wildly criticised the UFC for their matchmaking. Excuse me. Particularly when they feed an old veteran to an up and comer. But there's one or two on the card that are like that, but not much, not many by the usual standards. This is a pretty solid card in terms of even the matchmaking. So I criticise them when they don't do that. So it's only fair I give them their props when they do. But anyway, back to the fight. As saying, Jack Jenkins. He's had a few more UFC fights, 3-2 in the UFC compared to 1-1 in the for Roman Tavares. Um, he's not. He's got the KO power. He prefers to keep it standing. Jenkins. We can go the distance as well. Um, I think there's a very good chance he could get the knockout win. But it's again, he's got the hometown advantage just in case he doesn't find it. If it does go the distance, like I say, he's got a home advantage, home crowd behind him, potentially to sway the judges. But Tavares, though, very well-rounded fighter, very solid opponent himself. Not much difference in terms of the records, just slightly less experienced in both MMA career and UFC. Um, he's in both of his UFC fights have gone the distance. He did get knocked out in the Contender Series, actually. He had two fights in the Contender Series. One he got knocked out in, one he won. Well, the other he won, rather. Make it try to avoid tongue twisters if I can, but he's a solid opponent. So there's going to be a tough test. I've gone with Jack Jenkins, win by decision. It could be a late stoppage, but late stoppage or decision win. But I've gone with decision in this case. But in any case, I think Cushy Cake's going to be happy to hear that I've got him as the slight favourite here. Or at least he's the one that I've backed anyway. I suppose some might argue that's a curse, but I think it's a fairly comfortable pick. Definitely have gotten a worse fighter. So will that be enough to see him through to the fifth round or a hypothetical fifth round? Anyway, that itself is not guaranteed. Nothing in life is it? Let's be honest. Death and taxes, but besides that, nothing else is. But anyway, uh, let's see which fighter the wheel's going to guarantee for Tosh now. Anyway, let's see who is Tosh going to be matched with. And Tosh gets Rolando Bedoya. Rolando Bedoya there for Tosh. Uh, Again, one of the away fighters, if we're going to carry on with the Australia versus the world theme here. It's quite a fun theme, actually, let's be honest. It's quite, it's one of my guilty pleasures, really, when they do an event in somewhere around the world, particularly the ones in the UK, obviously, because I'm biased like that, when they have mostly UK fighters against foreign fighters. I love that. It really has a sort of, yeah, like I say, us versus them. It's Italian job feel, I suppose, almost. Us versus the world. In this case, Australia versus the world. Makes a quite interesting political undercurrent, I suppose. But anyway, Rolando Bedoya up against Jamie Malarkey. Um, I'd consider a fair bit difference in terms of experience here. It was 17 wins and 8 losses from Malarkey and 14 wins, 4 losses for Bedoya. I suppose some would argue that the bulk of that experience is bad experience with the losses, but I see it the other way. I think it's all learning experience, so it all counts for experience, and that's only a good thing. He's currently on a 2 fight knockout losing streak. He's lost his last two by knockout. That's concerning, obviously. Although it is his first fight for 1 year, 4 months, or so nearly 1.5 years out of the cage. Um, Normally, I'd argue that that's a bad thing. That's could lead to ring rust, so to speak, if you believe in ring rust. That has been disproved several times in the UFC before. But in this case, I think that's what you need after two back-to-back knockout losses like that. You need to take the time off, and if it takes over a year, it takes over a year. Um, so really, sort of get his to rethink his potential game plan. It could be a case of this isn't the same style of Jamie Malarkey that we used to see. Could this be a turning point in his career, perhaps? If anything, he needs the time just to get his confidence back. So I think that longer break would actually be a good thing for Malarkey here. Um, Normally a knockout artist, but as say is well, looks for the knockouts, but again does get caught sometimes with that approach. Maybe he'll take a different approach. Maybe we'll see. I mean, I'd expect a slightly more cautious approach from him, given the time off and given that it hasn't really worked for him in his last couple of fights. So I'm going with him to win by a decision against Rolando Bedoya. I suppose I better talk a little bit more about Bedoya himself. Again, is actually the fighter that got drawn. Went way off on a tangent on Malarkey there. But anyway, Bedoya, um, 3-fight losing streak, but they're all decision wins and decision losses rather. But this is definitely better than a knockout streak, that's for sure. Uh, but that does mean that Bedoya is 0-3 in the UFC, so potentially fighting for his job here. Um, or at least a job in the UFC. He'll find plenty of fights outside the UFC, but if he loses this, he could be on the chopping block. And so I suppose going back to the psychological side of it, that could be a motivation for Bedoya, perhaps. Maybe that'll spur him on. Like, shit, I need to get this win. Um, Never actually been stopped before, interestingly enough, though. So if Malarkey does go for his gun ho approach that we saw before, then maybe it's that might not work for him anyway. But anyway, it's tough fight, but I'm going with Malarkey for a decision win. I think that time off rebuild, I think that's just what he needs, to be honest. And to be honest, Bedoya so far has being 0-3 in the UFC, you've had three chances to prove yourself at the UFC level, and quite frankly, hasn't done so just yet. A good fighter, but maybe not quite UFC level. I don't know. I've got more faith in Malarkey though. So anyway, for the game, I think could be saying goodbye to Tosh after this round, unfortunately. Okay, so here we are, already at the last one. Last but by no means least, we have Trig. Let's see who the wheel is going to pick for Trig. Oh, there we go. Double up. Also got Charlie Campbell. That I wasn't. It's unlikely to get a double up really, because let's be honest, it's only four of you. So I was wondering if there would be a head to head, or if there would be a double up. But statistically, it's less likely than not. But less likely than not. But less likely than to occur. But anyway, so it's both Damien Handel 420 and Trig riding the Charlie Campbell hype train. Um, I say that's as I mentioned earlier, is a 50-50 fight in my opinion. So that is a coin toss. Effectively, I have gone with Nolan to win that one, but by decision. But it's there's very little to split between the two of them, and it could, knowing what I'm like, I probably could ramble on about this fight for several hours. Um, YouTube would probably ban me for that, just for being shit. Um, but really, I think there's so little to split between them. Any attempt at in-depth analysis will invariably just go back to making speculative judgments about what's going on in the camps of both fighters. But it's when you just look at the hard facts, there's very little to split between them. So that's a 50-50 one in my opinion. That's all I'm going to say for that. But I have picked Nolan, but I wouldn't bet on Nolan at all. Um, I'd just leave that fight alone if it's betting on the UFC. But anyway, um, two on the Charlie Campbell hype train anyway. Okay, so that is the draw complete for the fourth round draw. Just to remind ourselves, that is obviously Damien Handel 420 with Charlie Campbell is as is Trig as well. Cushy Cake with Jack Jenkins and Tosh with Rolando Bedoya. So, going back to what I was saying earlier about the permutations as to what can occur here. Um, obviously the Charlie Campbell Tom Nolan fight. That's a 50-50 one, so that can go either way. Um, Jack Jenkins, as I mentioned, this uh, I've yeah fairly confident on him. I wouldn't bet your house on him, but he's fairly confident in that one. Should win more likely than not. Bedoya, probably the least likely of this lot to win, to be honest with you. So, I suppose for my predictions, and I'd say that Fishy Cake and Jack Jenkins go through, Tosh and Bedoya go out. Um, as for as for the Charlie Campbell Tom Nolan fight, that really it all comes down to that really. If Tom Nolan wins, Charlie Campbell loses, then if my other predictions are correct, that will leave Cushy Cake as the winner. If um if my previous predictions are correct, but Charlie Campbell wins, then that means Damien Andel, Cushy Cake, and of course Trig would go through to the fifth round. So we could either have three of you in the next round, or we could have well, I mean, obviously we could have anything. We could have any combination really. You could all lose, you could all win, but yeah, no, I think in terms of predictions, it's more likely we either have three in the next round, or Cushy Cake wins it, and we'd go on to a new one. But a new game that is. Uh, but anyway, we'll see how it works now. That's just a prediction. Obviously, it'll all be settled in the octagon tomorrow evening. Well, evening over here. Obviously, don't know what time it'll be in Australia. Probably in the middle of their day, but it's but anyway, it's going to be about midnight over in the UK. Anyway, thanks for that, Dana. Fucking love it. Anyway, at least I'm not working on Sunday anyway, so that's good. I can at least lie in anyway. Right. Anyway, enough about my rambles. All it leaves me to say is if you've got any bets on this card, good luck with those. Good luck with your picks on Tapology. Of course, good luck to the four people, four remaining lucky bastards in this game, and just be lucky in life. Just have a lucky weekend. You know why not? But until next time, so long for now.